Do you feel like no matter what you do, you just don't fit into your step family? Like the idea of actually blending together will just never happen? Well, it's called outsider syndrome, and it is real. So today we're going to talk about how to deal with it, and I'm going to give you a little bit of tough love. I'm Cameron. I spent years building my career and creating a life I loved. And when my Prince Charming finally showed up, he had 4 kids in tow. Fast forward through lots of mistakes made and lessons learned, step family life was much more complicated than I realized. If you're looking for help with blended family life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Stepmom Diaries, where we keep it real as we dish about all the things. This is your weekly dose of blended family inspiration and encouragement. You're not the wicked stepmother, so let me help you find your fairy tale ending. Come on, let's do this. Hey there! Welcome to episode 15. I know it's been a couple of months since you've heard my voice, and so we're calling this the beginning of season 2, and I'm so excited to be back. You may be wondering what I've been up to, and we have had a lot going on. We have been spending time between Virginia and Maine the last few months. I have also been really busy the last few weeks teaching my first group of stepmoms the Blended Family Formula for Stepmom Success course, and it has been absolutely amazing to watch the transformation of these students and these stepmoms. They have made so much progress over 6 weeks. It's been amazing. They are having conversations with their spouses and their partners that are helping them feel more grounded in their stepmom journey. They have all developed more confidence and skills to be able to tackle some of the challenges that they've been facing, and it's just been so great to watch. So I'll be offering the class again in the next couple of months, so you'll hear more about it. And if you want to get on the wait list, feel free to head on over to the website at thiscustomlife.com/BFF, and I'll put the link in the show notes. But it is great to be back here with you, and I know you have been nuts too. This pandemic, that we all thought would last a few months and things would go back to normal. I think we've all seen over the course of the last year that, we're all kind of still figuring out what the new normal is going to look like and figure out if we can get vaccines and all of that good stuff. And, for blended families, that presents even more challenges. So I know that you have been busy as well. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about stepmom outsider syndrome. And I don't know, is this a term that you've heard before? When I became a stepmom, I had never heard of it, but once I heard it defined, it made total sense to me. So have you ever been in a situation with your partner where one of your stepkids directs a question just at them and doesn't look at you or even acknowledge you? I know I have. And sometimes it's on purpose and sometimes it's not, right? Have you ever been in a situation where the whole family is reminiscing about a trip or an experience that they had before you were part of the family? Again, sometimes that kind of thing happens intentionally, sometimes it doesn't, but at its core, outsider syndrome is when you just feel like you don't belong. So when one of those things happens and you sort of, in your own family, feel like you're on the outside looking in, right? And, sometimes if one of your stepkids is upset with you or feels really angry about the circumstances that they're in, maybe isn't happy that, their parent got remarried or whatever, then it can happen intentionally. They can be, trying to make you feel like you're on the outside on purpose. But most of the time, it's totally unintentional, and it's because they're comfortable with their parent and, they're thinking about past happy times or whatever. But it's hurtful regardless, right? It's still, when you're feeling like you're on the outside, that's not a great feeling for a family that you're supposed to be a core part of, right? But here's the thing. When you're feeling outside in your own family, and in your own blended family. And this is the tough love. I'm going to get to the tough love in the very first part of this episode, so get ready. But here's the thing. If you're in a blended family and you're a step parent and you feel like you're on the outside, guess what? You are. And That's probably not what you thought I was going to say, right? But the truth of the matter is, that first family unit that the rest of your family had before you got there, you'll never be a part of that family unit. You are always going to be on the outside of that family unit, right? There's a reason why so many stepmoms have outsider syndrome because we are outsiders. And guess what? We're never really allowed to forget it, are we? I mean, it's hard to admit that there's a whole family unit inside our home that we're not a member of. But the reality is, you married someone or have a relationship with someone who has children. There are going to be all kinds of experiences that they have shared that you simply weren't around for. You probably weren't around for your stepkids' first steps. I know I wasn't. You probably weren't there the first time they threw a tantrum, or as they dealt with their parents' divorce or separation, whatever. They know people that were part of their lives and part of their parents' lives that we don't know. We just weren't there. That is the harsh reality. But guess what? That's okay. That doesn't mean you'll always feel like you're on the outside. So when you do, let's think about what's causing it, and then let's think about what you can do about it, okay? So a number of things can cause it, and we've talked about sort of the unintentional and the intentional kind of making you feel like you're an outsider. But, it could also be that there's maybe not total clarity around your role, and that's something that you'll need to, talk about with your partner. It could be that other family members are acting around the kids in a way that, may reinforce that you're not a part of their original family. If the kids feel disloyal to mom by having a relationship with you, they may act out and they may make you feel like the odd man out. That's also totally normal. There are going to be natural loyalty binds between you and their biological mom. And, that's something we can deal with. That's totally normal. Another circumstance is if you came into the family sort of assuming that you should automatically have authority over the kids and automatically, be able to discipline them, tell them what to do, etc., then you may end up kind of inadvertently alienating yourself from them because they're not going to take to that very well. And I've talked about this on other episodes, but when I first became a stepmom, that was one of the mistakes. And I always tell people I've made all the mistakes. So I got you covered. Don't ever feel like you can't tell me something that you've done that I'm going to judge you for, because I won't, because I've probably made the mistake too. But for real, when I got married, my husband, Craig, really wanted a partner, and I wanted to be a partner, a full partner and a full parent. And this was, as I saw it, this was my chance to have that instant family that I always wanted. And, I thought that that meant that I came in as a full, quote, partner and, did the disciplining and enforced the rules and all that kind of stuff. And I came in a little heavy-handed, and it did not go well. We sat down and had a meeting to talk about what our house rules were going to be. And we thought it was a good idea for me to present the rules. Let me tell you, that went over like a lead balloon. So that was kind of the last time that I took a role like that. And I very quickly realized that, my husband needed to be the disciplinarian and I needed to take a different role and a different position with the kids. And things went much better from there once I realized that. So, if you may inadvertently be sort of separating yourself from them if you're making a mistake like I did. So there are a number of things that can cause outsider syndrome. Let's talk about how we can deal with it, right? How do you address it when you realize that you're kind of always feeling a little left out? The good news is that even just acknowledging your feelings is a huge step, right? Acknowledging that you don't feel like you're fully a part of the family all the time, that's a huge step. And owning that emotion is a huge step. And if you can acknowledge it to yourself, then I believe you can talk about it with your partner, your spouse. And please remember what I said earlier, okay? These feelings are totally normal. Feeling like an outsider in a blended family is totally normal. You did not cause this feeling. But remember, and this is really key, if you start acting like an outsider, it's going to be a vicious cycle and you're going to be viewed as one. It's just going to make things worse. So that's why I'm going to give you some ways that you can deal with this outsider syndrome, deal with how you're feeling right now so you can avoid, kind of getting further into it by acting like an outsider too. Hey, stepmom, do you want a totally free 30-minute coaching session with yours truly? Well, you're in luck because I am giving one away. If you would like to win a totally free 30-minute coaching session with me, just head over to iTunes Podcasts, leave a review for the Stepmom Diaries, preferably by saying something lovely, of course. Screenshot your review and send it to me at hello@thiscustomlife.com, or you can post it and tag me on social media. I'll enter you into a drawing, and one lucky winner stepmom is going to get a totally free 30-minute coaching session with me. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to iTunes and leave your review now. All right, so I'm going to give you 5 ways that you can address outsider syndrome. So let's start with number 1. And this one I think is by far the most important thing, not just in outsider syndrome, but really in any aspect of blended family life. Communicate, communicate, communicate. I'm going to say it 2 more times. Communicate with your partner. And when I say communication, I mean good communication, okay? I don't mean just blurting it out in an angry voice and being defensive and all that kind of stuff. I mean productive communication, not the kind that makes you want to crawl back in bed because you're embarrassed of how you acted, right? I know we have all been there. So how do you do that? Well, it's talking to your spouse about how you feel. If you have a hard time getting through to your spouse about your needs or advocating for yourself, I'm working on a podcast episode about that, so that'll be coming up, and I'll put some resources in the show notes too. But the bottom line is, you and your partner are a team, right? Your partner's support is crucial to you not feeling like an outsider. They can't force their kids to like you, but they can demand that you be treated with respect. They can also verbalize their appreciation for you and show you in little ways that you matter to them and the family. And that can look like a lot of different things. You don't want him to try to force you on the kids. And when they're talking about some previous family experience, you don't want him to kind of constantly distract or divert or include you, because they need to be able to be open with those experiences and memories. And you should be encouraging them to feel open about it, because if you do, that will help your relationship with them. If they feel comfortable talking about that stuff, then the kids may ultimately find a way to pull you into the conversation. I know a lot of times with my stepkids, I've been real open with them about things that have happened in the past and memories that they've got that, happened before I came on the scene. And, now when they talk about that kind of stuff, they'll include me in the conversation and they'll talk about the memory and they'll say, "Oh, Cameron, this was the time when we did this and this." And so they're still talking about a time when I was not around, but they're including me in the conversation and they're making an effort to include me in the conversation, which makes me feel much less like an outsider and more like part of my own family, right? Which is the ultimate goal, right? Is for us to have a family unit. We're forming a new family unit, and the ultimate goal is for you to feel a part of that. So communication with your partner is key. And I mean good communication, positive communication, talking about the fact that you're a team and then discussing ways that your partner can help you feel more included and some things that, you might work on together in terms of pulling you into that family unit. So let's move on to number 2. This one can be a little harder. Be patient. Here's the thing. If the kids' actions are making you feel like an outsider, just know that your relationship with them is going to take time. It takes an average of 7 years for a blended family to feel like a unit. That is a long time, and especially for kids. Let them set the pace of your relationship. The harder you try, the harder they'll resist, especially if they somehow don't feel like it's sincere or they feel like they're being pushed. Let the relationships evolve naturally, and just remember that it can take a really long time to bond with these kids. And also know that a lot of times when they're making you feel like an outsider, if they're talking only to their parent or talking about things that you weren't around for, it's probably not on purpose. And so, like I said earlier, if you can make them feel comfortable talking about their past experiences with you present, they may get to the point where they talk about it, but then sort of explain it to you and include you, which lets you know that they are really trying and they really want you to be a part of things, right? And, I told you, I do encourage my stepkids to talk about their memories from before I was around. I know it's healthy. And in fact, talk about a sort of awkward situation that I put myself into. We took two of the kids to Paris a couple years ago. And while we were there, we went to visit the church where Craig married their mom. Did I feel like an outsider there in that situation, talking about where my husband had married his first wife, the kids' moms? You betcha, right? But I knew they would want to see that while they were there. And I knew it would mean something to them to see where their parents had gotten married. And I'm not going to lie, there was a small part in the back of my head where I thought maybe if it ever got back to their mom, that it had been my idea to visit the church that they had gotten married in. Maybe that would be some sort of peace offering between the two of us. It was a little awkward for me, I'm not going to lie, but I knew it was important for the kids. And I also knew that if I could make them feel comfortable, talking about their parents' marriage or talking about, any of the past, that it would help my relationship with them. And it did. It really did. So be patient with the kids. It really can take some time. And, encourage them to talk to you about things that might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's all part of the process. And, if you can take time and look for opportunities to bond with them, that will help pull you into feeling, a little bit less like an outsider, right? I've got a couple of pieces on thiscustomlife.com that should help you with some ideas for how to bond with your stepkids. And I also have a free download there. I'll put links to all of that in the show notes for you. So moving on to number 3. So if you need to, if the kids are being outright rude or disrespectful or whatever in the house, then you might want to incorporate some basic manners, some basic courtesy into the house rules. Things like saying hello to you and greeting everybody and, basic sort of manners that you have when you live with another human being, right? So I don't know. Do you have house rules that you and your partner have discussed with the kids about sort of basic expectations for behavior? If not, it may be a good time to think about setting that up. And again, I'm going to reinforce here, if you and your partner come up with a good set of house rules, it should not be you that presents them to the kids. I'm going to repeat that because that's very important. It should not be you that presents those rules to the kids. They don't need to see you coming in as the heavy, especially in the first couple of years. It needs to be your partner that is the disciplinarian, and it needs to be your partner that is the one who talks to the kids about the house rules. You can decide together what those are going to look like. You can also decide together if it makes sense for you to be there for the discussion. That all depends on the family dynamics, right? But they should be the ones to convey the rules. I've already told you my big mistake about conveying house rules. You do not want to do what I did. Absolutely. So basic manners, basic courtesy, that's not necessarily going to be the end all be all in terms of solving, if you're feeling like an outsider in the family, but encouraging them to treat you with respect and some basic courtesy will absolutely help the situation. So let's move on to number 4. This is recharge and refresh. Find some kid-free zones to get out of there, to escape, and to recharge if you need it. This goes to self-care, friend. You need it whether or not you're feeling left out in your own family, but if you're feeling like an outsider, you need it even more, okay? I am going to tell you, if you're feeling like an outsider, if you're feeling like things aren't fitting together quite right with the family, focus more on your own life and other aspects of it. Enjoy your marriage, enjoy your friends, and focus just a little bit less on the kids. Now, I don't mean blow off all your obligations with the kids, and I don't mean ignore the kids or anything like that, but do things with your friends. Make time to go see family. Go get a pedicure, take a walk, whatever it is that relaxes you or gets you into a better headspace, that's what I want you to go do. If you're feeling like an outsider, focus a little bit more on taking care of yourself and a little less on, worrying about the acceptance from the kids. That'll also help you feel like it's not always getting thrown in your face that you don't belong. And it'll help you achieve better balance, which, like I said, is really important regardless of whether you're feeling like an outsider. I mean, let's think about it. How many of us dove into stepmotherhood head first and then realized we were totally in the deep end of the pool and didn't know how to swim, and we were neglecting ourselves, neglecting our friends, neglecting our families? I don't know about you, but that is exactly what I did. And I had to recalibrate. And I had to figure out what taking care of myself looked like as a stepmom. And doing that helped me kind of be more confident and, approach my step family knowing that I was in a good headspace to be there. And that gave me a lot of help in, feeling more like a part of the family, more like I belonged, and kind of giving me the confidence to, speak up for my own needs, right? So make it a priority to recharge and refresh when and if you need it. I'm going to say when you need it because I think everybody does. But, find some kid-free zones that you can escape to. And again, that can be for, 10 minutes or for a whole day or whatever it is that you need to be able to come back into the situation, with a little bit of a refreshed, mental space. So number 5, I want you to be yourself and love your family. And this sounds a little woo-woo and kind of fuzzy, right? But seriously, who did your partner fall in love with? Your partner fell in love with you. So what I don't want you to do is go changing so that you can feel like you fit into this family. Your partner fell in love with you. You fell in love with your partner. Your partner came with kids. But be that amazing person with your partner and with their kids. Don't feel like you need to be a different person to fit in with that family unit. You're making your own family unit, and that new family unit includes you, the awesome person that your partner fell in love with, right? It is so important that you don't lose that sense of self and don't lose yourself, because that is who your partner fell in love with. That's who the family was started around. So what if they have memories that you weren't around for, right? Encourage them to enjoy those memories and then work on making new memories together. Then when they talk about the good old days, you can relax and know that you have your own good times to remember. And those good times were formed around you, who you are. And so I really do want you to focus on loving yourself, and being that great person that your spouse fell in love with, and being that great person for your family. So with that, I'll end by saying outsider syndrome is real. We've all had it at one time or another as stepmoms, and it can be really tough to navigate. But I know you can do it. You have got all the skills to tackle this and more. And the great news is I'm here to help. So thank you for listening today. Don't forget, for show notes, head over to thiscustomlife.com/episode 15. I'll have all the resources that we've talked about there for you, and I will see you next time. Thanks. That's that's it for this week. If you've enjoyed our chat, I hope you'll help spread the word. Share this episode with friends and head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave me a review. And don't forget, for more great stepmom content, head on over to thiscustomlife.com and follow me on social media. Just search This Custom Life on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Until next time, you keep being you and know that we are in this together. See you here next week.